You ever find yourself standing in the middle of a family dinner, holding your sister-in-law's deepest secret like a live grenade in your hand? That was me 2 weeks ago, fingers shaking, eyes darting between faces, wondering who'd pull the pin first. Let me rewind a little. I'm 28, married to my husband Ethan, and up until recently, I thought our family was relatively normal. Ethan's older sister, Naomi, is 31. Always been the golden child, smart, put together, private to a fault. Naomi married this wealthy tech guy named Lucas. Together, they're the picture of Instagram perfection. Curated couple selfies, aesthetic coffee shots, clean white kitchen. But as everyone knows, Instagram hides the rot. 6 months ago, at a family barbecue, Naomi skipped the sangria. Not exactly headline news. But Naomi always drank at these things. She was also wearing a massive hoodie in July heat, claiming she felt bloated. Nobody blinked except me. Maybe it's because I've always been a little more observant. Or maybe because Naomi and I share a weird dynamic. Not exactly friends, but close enough that I notice when she's off. That day stuck in my head. Fast forward a few months. Ethan and I host a game night. Naomi shows up again, hoodie zipped up high. No wine, no cheese, standing weirdly stiff in a corner like she didn't want anyone near her. Her face looked puffier, her hands too. My brain clicked, pregnancy. But I didn't say anything. Not my business, right? Until it became my business. One night, Naomi called me out of the blue around midnight. Her voice was shaky, breathless. I need to talk, she said. Can you meet me now? Please. Against my better judgment, I got in the car. When I pulled up to her house, she was standing in the driveway in her slippers, clutching her belly. 8 months along. It wasn't even a question anymore. Naomi wasn't just pregnant, she was almost ready to pop. Naomi, I whispered. What? She grabbed my hand like it was a life raft. I need you to help me hide it, she said. That was the moment the grenade landed in my hands. Turns out, Naomi had been keeping her pregnancy secret from everyone, including her husband Lucas. They'd been going through something. She wouldn't explain what, but Lucas apparently made it clear he didn't want kids. Naomi, however, did. She stopped birth control without telling him. Got pregnant on purpose. Now she was stuck. 8 months along, terrified of Lucas finding out. Terrified of our in-laws. I just need 2 more weeks, she pleaded. Then, I'll figure it out. That was insane. You can't just. Naomi, that's not sustainable. You have to tell him. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Please. Don't tell Ethan. Don't tell Mom and Dad. Just cover for me. Say I'm traveling. Anything. That night I didn't sleep. And the worst part? I kept her secret for exactly 4 days. Because 4 days later at Sunday dinner, Naomi didn't show up. Everyone kept asking where she was. I couldn't handle the wait. Felt wrong, dishonest. But before I could crack, Naomi texted me. Naomi, remember? You promised. Except I never promised. That was her first mind game. Over the next week, Naomi kept piling on the manipulation. Guilt texts. Middle of the night calls. Crying voicemails. She painted me into a corner where I couldn't breathe. By the second week I caved. I told Ethan. I sat him down after work, hands sweating, heart hammering. Naomi's pregnant, I blurted. 8 months. Ethan stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. What are you talking about? I explained everything. And I mean everything. First, Ethan refused to believe me. But eventually the pieces clicked for him too. Here's where things get messy. Instead of supporting me, Ethan got mad. At me. Why would you drop this on me now? He snapped. That's her business. I couldn't believe it. That's when Naomi escalated. The next day, my phone lit up with a group chat notification. Naomi. Why would you do this? I trusted you. Now Mom knows. Dad knows. Lucas is threatening to leave. I hope you're happy. I hadn't told anyone but Ethan. So how did everyone else find out? Turns out Ethan panicked and told his mom. The dominoes fell from there. For the next few days, I was public enemy number 1 in the family chat. Accusations. Cold shoulders. Naomi framing me like I'd been out to ruin her life. But here's the kicker. I wasn't about to apologize. Because Naomi put me in an impossible position. I didn't ask to be her accomplice. I didn't ask to hold on to a secret that could literally change lives. And the final twist? A few days ago, Lucas messaged me directly. He asked to meet in person. When we sat down, Lucas looked broken. His usual sharp suit replaced by sweats. Dark circles under his eyes. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for telling Ethan. For not letting this stay hidden." Apparently, Lucas had suspected something was off but didn't know what. Now that he knew the truth, he wasn't sure what he'd do next. But he didn't blame me. And honestly, that gave me some peace. But Naomi didn't stop. She's still pushing the narrative that I ruined her life. Family dinners now feel like walking into a war zone. And Ethan's stuck in the middle. Some days he sides with me. Other days not so much. So, AITA for not keeping Naomi's pregnancy a secret? For refusing to back down now that everything's out in the open? Because even now, part of me wonders, did I really do the right thing? Or am I just the villain in someone else's story? The next weekend, I showed up at my in-laws' house like usual. I wasn't sure if I was brave or stupid, but I figured if Naomi could walk around pretending nothing was happening for 8 months, I could face some angry stares for an hour or two. The tension was so thick I could practically chew on it. Ethan parked the car in silence. I could feel his frustration simmering beneath the surface. We hadn't really talked since he found out I'd told his mom. Everything was short answers, clipped tones, like we both didn't know how to handle each other now. As soon as I stepped inside, my mother-in-law's voice rang sharp and clear from the kitchen. "Oh, look who's here." She didn't bother hiding the sarcasm. My father-in-law avoided eye contact altogether, pretending to scroll through his phone in the living room. Naomi wasn't there yet. Or maybe she was hiding upstairs. For all I knew, she could be sitting in her old room, belly fully showing now, waiting for me to leave. I swallowed my pride and greeted everyone anyway. "Hi," I said, voice steady. "Hope it's not awkward I came." No one answered. That was fine. I'd expected that. The real shock came 15 minutes later when Naomi actually walked in. She wasn't hiding anymore. She stepped through the front door in a fitted black maternity dress, hair done, makeup sharp, belly obvious as daylight. And the family, every single one of them acted like nothing was wrong. Like it was just a regular Sunday. Naomi gave me this tiny, cutting smile. Like she'd won some battle I hadn't even known was still happening. I just stared at her, floored. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't about pregnancy. It wasn't about secrets. This was about control. Naomi wanted to write the story her way on her timeline. She wanted everyone else to play along. I disrupted that narrative, so now she'd shifted it, presented her truth on her terms, as if I'd never been involved. "Hey sis," she said casually, brushing past me toward the kitchen. "Glad you could make it." Ethan tensed beside me. His mom smiled back at Naomi like she hadn't spent the last week sending me angry texts. For a solid 2 minutes I just stood there frozen like some glitching character in a video game. Finally, I followed Naomi into the kitchen. I wasn't about to let her pretend we hadn't just spent 2 weeks in silent warfare. I waited until everyone else stepped outside to set up the grill. Then I cornered her. "Naomi," I said, voice low. "What are you doing?" She turned slowly, raising an eyebrow. "What does it look like?" "It looks like you've decided I'm the villain again." Her lip curled slightly. "You made yourself the villain." I exhaled hard. "You put me in an impossible spot. I didn't ask for this. You could have kept your mouth shut." "That wasn't fair to me," I said, voice tightening. "Or to Ethan. Or Lucas." Naomi's face darkened at his name. "That's none of your business." I shook my head. "That's where you're wrong." For a split second I swear I saw something raw in her eyes. Like the carefully constructed mask she'd been wearing all day almost slipped. Then she pulled it back together. "Doesn't matter now," she said. "Everyone knows. Lucas and we're figuring it out." I frowned. "Are you really? Or are you just pretending again?" Naomi didn't answer. She walked past me, grabbed a glass of lemonade and carried it outside. That's when I noticed Lucas wasn't there. His car wasn't in the driveway either. I pulled Ethan aside. "Where's Lucas?" I whispered. Ethan rubbed his neck. "Didn't come. Mom said he needed space." That didn't sit right with me. Naomi had said they were figuring it out. But if Lucas wasn't even showing up for family dinner, how true was that? I made it through the rest of the night on autopilot, plastering on smiles, answering questions about work, trying not to crumble every time Naomi's perfectly curated life paraded itself in front of me like nothing had ever been wrong. When Ethan and I finally got back in the car, I couldn't hold it in anymore. "She's lying," I said as soon as the doors closed. Ethan sighed. "Hannah." "No," I cut him off. "She's lying to everyone. Again. Lucas isn't there because they're not okay." Ethan looked tired. "What do you want me to do? Force her to tell the truth? She's always been like this." That sentence hit me harder than I expected. She's always been like this. It was true. Naomi had always been the puppet master in the family. And I realized, no one had ever really called her out. Not for real. Until me. And now I understood why no one else had bothered. Because it was exhausting. Frustrating. Lonely. When we got home, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone. That's when I saw it. Naomi's latest Instagram post. Her in that same black dress, hand cradling her belly, captioned, "Sometimes life doesn't go according to plan. But that doesn't mean it's not beautiful." Hundreds of likes already. I set my phone down and stared at the ceiling. That's when my own phone buzzed with a text. From an unknown number. "Unknown, you're right. She's lying. Can we talk?" My heart stuttered. I stared at the screen, unsure whether to respond. "Me? Who is this?" "Unknown, Lucas." I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, I met Lucas at a coffee shop downtown. He looked worse than before, hollow eyes, unshaven. "I couldn't handle the family dinner," he admitted, voice rough. "Couldn't handle pretending." I nodded slowly. "I figured." He took a long sip of his coffee, staring out the window. "Naomi's spinning things again," he said. "Telling everyone we're fine. But I've been staying at a hotel." I swallowed hard. "I'm sorry." Lucas shook his head. "Don't be. You were the only one who actually told the truth. Everyone else, they just enable her." That's when he leaned in, voice dropping even lower. "She told me she got pregnant on purpose." My breath caught. "I know," I said quietly. "She told me the night I found out." Lucas closed his eyes briefly, like he couldn't believe any of this was real. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do," he admitted. "Part of me wants to forgive her. For the baby's sake. But another part of me." His voice broke off. I didn't know what to say. What could I say? Lucas looked up at me again, eyes clearer now. "I just wanted to thank you," he said, "for not playing along." That's when I realized something else. I wasn't the villain. I wasn't even a side character. I'd been forced into Naomi's story, but I didn't have to stay there. When I got home, Ethan was waiting in the kitchen. "How was your walk?" he asked, not looking up from his phone. I set my keys down. "I met Lucas," I said simply. That got his attention. He looked up, eyebrows raised. "What? Why?" "Because someone has to deal with the mess Naomi left behind." Ethan didn't say anything for a long time. Then quietly he said, "You know she's going to hate you forever for this, right?" I gave him a tired smile. "I'm okay with that." And I meant it. For the first time in weeks, I actually meant it. The following week felt quieter. Not peaceful, just quieter. Like the silence after a storm, when the air is still heavy but the worst of the wind has passed. I kept waiting for Naomi to show up at my door again, or for Ethan's mom to call me and unleash another round of passive-aggressive guilt. But nothing happened. It felt unfinished. That's what really got under my skin. Until Thursday night, when everything started unraveling for real. It was just after 9 p.m. Ethan and I were watching TV, finally starting to feel normal again, when his phone buzzed. He picked it up, glanced at the screen, then froze. "What?" I asked. His face went pale. "It's Mom. She said Naomi's in the hospital." My heart stopped. "What?" He stood up, already grabbing his keys. Apparently her water broke early. Lucas isn't answering his phone. Within 5 minutes, we were in the car headed for the hospital. My mind was spinning so fast I couldn't get a full thought to land. Fear, guilt, confusion, all knotted up together. When we got there, Naomi was already in her room. I caught a glimpse of her through the window before a nurse pulled the curtain closed, sweat-slicked hair, face contorted in pain. My mother-in-law was pacing in the hallway, clearly panicked. My father-in-law sat stiff and silent in a chair against the wall. No sign of Lucas. That hit harder than I expected. I kept picturing the way he'd looked at the coffee shop, lost, scared but trying. Now he wasn't even here? Ethan immediately went to his mom, hugging her and asking questions I could barely follow. I just stood there, staring at the closed curtain, feeling useless. Until my phone buzzed. Lucas. I'm outside. Can't make myself go in. Where are you? I stared at the message for a solid 10 seconds before slipping away from the family and heading for the entrance. And there he was sitting on a bench outside the emergency room doors, head in his hands. I sat down next to him without saying anything at first. Finally he spoke. I got the call, he said, voice hollow. I drove here. I just couldn't go in. My throat tightened. Why? He shook his head slowly. Because I don't know what I'll say to her. I don't know if I'm ready to see my kid. The weight of that hit me harder than I wanted to admit. It's okay to feel that way, I said quietly. But you should go in. Lucas gave a dry laugh. You think I can just flip a switch like that? No, I admitted. But I think if you don't, you'll regret it. He didn't answer. Just sat there, eyes fixed on the pavement. For a minute, neither of us said anything. Then he stood up slowly, like it physically hurt him to move. Okay, he said finally. Let's go. We walked back inside together. When Naomi saw him walk through the door, I watched her whole face change. Relief, fear, anger, like someone had shaken up a bottle of soda and twisted the cap off all at once. Lucas, she breathed. Her voice cracked. He didn't say anything. Just walked to her side, taking her hand in his. I stepped back into the corner, feeling like an intruder in someone else's movie. That's when I noticed Ethan watching me. His expression wasn't angry this time. It was complicated. We didn't say anything. Just stood there waiting. Felt like hours. At 2:14 a.m., Naomi gave birth to a baby girl. I wasn't in the room, but when the nurse came out and told us, the entire family just exhaled, like we'd all been holding our breath for months. Lucas came out a few minutes later, eyes red but smiling faintly. He looked at me first. Thank you, he said again. This time it felt final, like we both understood something that didn't need to be spoken out loud. I didn't cry until we got home. Ethan and I walked into the dark apartment. I kicked my shoes off, sat down on the couch, and before I knew it, tears were running down my face. Ethan sat down next to me, pulling me into his arms without saying a word. We stayed like that for a long time. Finally, he whispered, "You really did the right thing." I let out a shaky breath. I wasn't sure. I know, he said. But you were right. And for the first time in weeks, I actually believed him. The next few days were strange. The family was caught up in the whirlwind of the new baby. Naomi named her Lila. Pictures started flooding the family chat. Naomi posted on Instagram again. This time a close-up of Lila's tiny hand clutching her finger. No mention of how it all happened. No acknowledgement of the storm that had come before. But that was Naomi's way. I visited the hospital once just for a few minutes. Naomi was still pale and tired-looking, but glowing in that way new moms always seem to. Lucas was there too, holding Lila like he'd been born to do it. For a moment everything felt okay. When Naomi saw me though, her smile faltered just slightly. We didn't say much. Just exchanged a quiet look. That was enough. I don't know if she forgives me. I don't know if I forgive her honestly. But that's not really the point. A week after Lila was born, Ethan and I hosted dinner at our place. It wasn't a big family thing, just us trying to feel normal again. Halfway through the meal, Ethan put his fork down and looked at me across the table. "I've been thinking," he said. "Yeah." He hesitated, then said, "Maybe it's time we think about kids." I froze. It wasn't that we hadn't talked about it before. But after everything with Naomi, I'd pushed it to the back of my mind. Felt like too much. But now, I realized I wasn't scared of it anymore. "Okay," I said softly. "Yeah, maybe." We didn't make any big announcements. Didn't start picking out names or nursery colors. Just sat there quietly, holding onto each other's hands like maybe, for once, we could write our own story, one without secrets or manipulation. One where no one had to play chicken with anyone else. It's been 3 months now. Naomi's back to posting picture-perfect photos. Lila's face is always blurred or cropped out, but she's there, tiny feet in soft blankets, little fists clenched around toys. Lucas moved back home. They're doing therapy apparently. We're not as close as we used to be. I don't think we ever will be again. But that's okay. Because sometimes standing up for yourself means losing people. And sometimes losing them is what sets you free. So, was I the asshole? Maybe. But if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. Because some stories need to be told. Even if no one wants to hear them. Even if it makes you the villain in someone else's version. That's the thing about family secrets. They don't stay buried forever. 3 months later, things seemed calm on the surface, but it was a fragile calm, like thin ice over deep water. Naomi and I didn't talk directly much. At family events we'd nod, say a polite hi, but there was no real conversation. Lucas was always close by, quiet but steady. I think in a strange way both he and Naomi were trying to move forward, trying to keep up appearances. Whether they really forgave each other, honestly, I didn't know. One Sunday afternoon, Ethan and I were at his parents' house for lunch. It was warm early spring, the kind of day where the air smells like grass and things growing. Lila was there too, bundled in soft pink clothes, sleeping in a carrier. Naomi had stepped outside to take a call. That's when Ethan's mom leaned over to me at the kitchen table and, in a voice quieter than I expected, said, "I know things were hard a few months ago, but I'm glad you told the truth." It stunned me. She had barely spoken to me since everything happened. "I thought you were being dramatic," she admitted, looking down at her tea. "But Naomi, she gets in her own way sometimes." Someone had to push back. I didn't say anything for a minute. Then I nodded slowly. "Thank you," I said. It wasn't some grand, movie-ending reconciliation, but it was enough. Later that night, as Ethan and I were leaving, Naomi caught me by the front porch. She stood there, holding Lila against her shoulder. The baby was awake now, small eyes blinking up at me like she was trying to figure out who I was. Naomi didn't say anything at first, just watched me. Finally she spoke. "Lucas told me you met up with him before Lila was born." I swallowed. "Yeah. I hated you for that," Naomi said plainly. "I hated you for a lot of things." I didn't answer. I wasn't sure what she wanted from me. Then she sighed, eyes dropping down to Lila. "But you weren't wrong." That was all she said. But it was everything. Naomi turned and walked back into the house. And for the first time, I felt like the weight I'd been carrying since that midnight phone call all those months ago finally lifted. 6 months after Lila was born, Ethan and I found out I was pregnant. It was early. We didn't tell anyone right away. Partly because of what had happened with Naomi. Partly because we just wanted it to be ours for a little while. I remember sitting on the couch one night, holding the test in my hand, shaking like a leaf. Ethan was next to me, both of us quiet. Then he took my hand and said, "Whatever happens, we do this our way." And that was all I needed. When we finally announced it to the family, there was a strange silence. Not tension exactly, just this collective holding of breath. Naomi was there, holding Lila on her hip. Our eyes met across the room. For a second I saw something raw in her face. Maybe sadness. Maybe something else. Then she smiled. And for once it felt real. "Congrats," she said simply. And I knew then we'd both grown. Not perfectly. Not in some fairy tale way. But enough. Because sometimes family isn't about always getting along. Sometimes it's about surviving each other. It's about telling the truth, even when it costs you. And standing your ground, even when everyone else tells you to sit down. So, if you're reading this wondering if you should hold on to someone's secret at the expense of your own peace, here's my honest answer. You don't owe anyone your silence. Especially not when the truth needs to come out. Even if it makes you the bad guy for a while. Even if it means someone slams a door in your face. Because in the end, it's not about winning or losing. It's about knowing you did the right thing when it mattered most. And that's enough.